Facebook. Welcome to Wake Up Everybody's virtual community, day 596. If you are up and you know somebody who might need to be up, go and wake them up. We're talking about the art of the code, deciphering the change up. So I'm Tiffany Matthias. I'm here to talk to you this morning, spark dialogue, engage with you all. And I'm so happy to be here. So, good morning, everybody. Wake up, and wake up. Yes, yes, Facebook. I'm so happy you are all here. I see participants starting to join us in the Zoom room. Hello, and good morning, Adam. Are you at the gym?
Good morning, Tiffany. How you doing?
I am good.
Blessing family, so glad to be here this morning.
Good morning, Miss Teresa. How are you today?
Great, thank you.
I'm so happy you joined us. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to day 596. Hey, Tam. Oh, my baby Tam is here. Thank you. Good morning, Tamara, for joining us. I'm so happy. I'm so happy you're here. Yes, everybody, it's time to wake up. We're talking about the art of the code, deciphering the change up. We're going to take a look at ourselves, a deep look at ourselves, and figure out, do we code switch? When do we code switch? Why do we code switch? Why do we have to code switch? Matter of fact, I'm looking for those people who say they don't code switch. They stay true to themselves every day, all day. Good morning, Miss Medicine. How are you? Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining this morning. If you want, please grab a pen and a piece of paper, a notebook, take notes. This is an important conversation we're about to have, and I'm so happy everyone is here joining this morning. Good morning. Everybody's a little quiet this morning. We need coffee. I know I need coffee. I'm looking forward to the cup I'm going to have when we're finished, but I'm not going to have it now. I'm going to wait. Good morning. I want to thank my admins for getting up this morning and being here with me. I love you, ladies, so much. Thank you.
Oops, I'm sorry about that, y'all. Let me do that again. My apologies.
Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, together, releasing. We're teaching, we're moving. Together, together, we're learning, discerning. We're striving. Together, together, we're leading, connecting, transforming. Together, together.
Hello and good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wake Up Everybody's virtual community, day 596. Day 596. We've been here in the space more than 596 days, but this is session number 596. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. If you know you normally have a buddy in the space and they're not here, go ahead and hit their line, hit that jack, wake them up, let them know to come into the space and join us. We're about to dive into a very deep and interesting conversation that some would say that they can't believe that we're having in 2022. And I say, why not? It is time to have the conversation. It's time to open up the doors, let the floods through, and really just pull the Band-Aid off of this topic of code switching. So I want to thank everybody for being here this morning with me, both here in Zoom and Facebook. So Nigel, if we can begin to prepare to pull up the slide, just a raise of the digital hand as we do so. How many of you have ever heard of the term code switching and have an idea of what it is, what it means? Okay, I see one hand up, two, three. Okay, so yes, four, yes. So there are people in the space who are familiar with this term. And so, yes, let's pull it up and find out what the actual definitions are of code switching. And I'm going to be looking for a voice in the space, somebody to read the slide. So if you would like to read the slide, please keep your hand up. But if you don't want to read the slide, put your hand down. Okay, Rachel. It looks like Rachel is volunteering to keep her hand up and read our slide.
Good morning, everybody. So code switching. Now, legit. Do you want to help me with that word?
Linguistics.
Linguistics, right?
Yes.
The practice of altering between two or more languages or varieties or varieties of language in conversation involves the adjustment of one style of speech, appearance, behavior, and expression in ways that will optimize the comfort of others in exchange for far what is it?
There.
You know what, I'm reading from the phone, which is
It's
really not
okay.
a smart idea. Fair expression in ways that will optimize oh my god, okay. Sorry about this, oh my goodness. For
It's
fair
okay.
treatment, quality of service, and employment opportunities.
Got
Goodness, let
you.
me turn it the
Thank
other way.
Thank you. And I'm realizing maybe having the white writing on the lighter background might not be helpful either. So I thank you for coming into the space with your voice. So yes, and those are the two definitions of code switching. And the one that we are probably all more familiar with, and the one that's giving those little tinglies up and down our spine is that second definition, the one that involves the adjustment of one's style for the comfort of others. So the way I speak, the way that I carry myself, the way that I may dress is changing for the comfort of others. And that's what we're here to talk about. So if you could go ahead and take that slide down, Nigel, thank you. With that all being said, how many of you in your everyday life practice the art of code switching? And I say the art because there is definitely an art to it. And some people have mastered it and others have not. I personally have mastered the art of code switching, and I started so at a very young age. And I'm just going to tell a brief story for those of you who may not know me. Um, I'm biracial, so I have one white parent, I have one black parent. So half of my family is white, half of my family is black, and my white family is just different. I say that, and to know them is to experience them and understand that. However, growing up here in Brooklyn, New York, um, when I was about 15 years old, I was sent to live upstate with one of my aunts, my white aunt, and she lived about 15, 20 minutes outside of Syracuse in central New York in a small town called Elbridge. And I was a sophomore in high school up there, and it was the 90s. And so I came up to this, as they would say, lily white town, straight B girl from Brooklyn, New York. Big oversized clothes. I could probably fit two of me in my jeans. Think of the shock. If you've ever seen The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, when Will first went to Bel-Air and he showed up at the dinner, he had the bow tie around his neck and the cummerbund around his chest, and he refused to let go of that Philly style. Well, that was me. I refused to let go of that Brooklyn style. And one night over dinner, my aunt had a conversation with me, and she let me know that as much as she loved and appreciated who I was expressing myself as an individual, there were going to be people in the world who do not understand that, who were not going to be accepting of me dropping the G's on my words, of me saying the word ain't, of me showing up and clapping hands and being very animated. That, as a matter of fact, regardless of how intelligent I was, they were not going to be able to see past that, to see who I was as a person, and that I needed to learn how to be able to adjust who I was based on the spaces that I was in order to survive in this world. This is a lesson I'm learning at 15. And so I did. Slowly but surely, I adjusted who I was, and I became Tiffany, and who fit in upstate New York and was on the cheerleading squad and supported the track team and all of these things here. And then when I came home a year later to Brooklyn, New York, with all of my G's and my happy and the smiles and the cheers in my voice, the first things my friends in the hood said is, "You talk white." I'm like, what the hell? I talk too black up here. I talk too white over here. So I had to flip the code, and I had to release everything that I had just spent a year learning so that I could fit back in with my friends and my family and my classmates and my community down here in New York. So at 15 years old, I had to learn how to code switch. And I didn't realize how valuable that lesson was going to become or be in my life until I was an adult. And I had to go out and apply for jobs. I had to apply to schools, go to college, participate in college classroom dialogue. And I'm like, oh, this is what she was talking about. This was the world she was preparing me for. So that's my story with code switching. Before we move along, I've said a lot. Can anybody relate to my story? Did anything resonate with anyone in which they feel that in their life they have had to learn the art of code switching? And if so, just raise your hand. You could do, if you want to put it in your chat, in the chat, that works as well too. Yeah.
Sure,
So
sure. So Tiffany, we have two hands raised.
yes.
But before we move there, I just want to share, Denise dropped something in the chat, and she
Mhm.
says, I believe most Black and Brown people have to code switch.
Mhm.
So that is the comment in the
Thank
chat.
you.
Would you like to call on one or two people before you move forward?
Yes, I'll call on one voice first because there is a video that we're getting ready to watch, and I think is going to even further expand this conversation. So one hand for
Okay.
now.
All right, sure. So Abimbola was the first person to raise her hand. So sis, did you want to come off with mute and
Mhm.
share?
Yes. Yes, peace. I didn't know the terminology of code switching um, with my daughter, and I used to tell her, "Oh, you're not speaking correct English." And when she talking about I ain't God or don't God or whatever, and then she said, "Well, mommy, I know when I write, I don't write like that," and I couldn't understand.
Mhm.
And I know when I went to college, I never forget that, and that was 1974, and we had to take the admissions exam. And so when it was time for us to be placed in our English classes, one of my good friends was placed in a class called Black English. And so I went to my counselor and I said, I want to go to the Black English. She said, no, because you don't speak like that. And I didn't know what she was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so she said, no, you have to go to the regular English. And then later on, I found out what you talked about. You're talking about code switching. There was a different dialect.
Mm-hmm.
So, I can relate to it. And like my daughter, she's a teacher and she code switch, she knew how to speak. And then when she had to write, she didn't write that way. I'm
Right.
complete. Thank you.
Thank you, Abimbola, for sharing that. And I just want to add on to it that code switching is not only about just the behavior and maybe swinging back and forth between ebonics or our Black way of speaking. If you speak another language other than English, you actually do code switch. And there are some people who will code switch within a sentence. One of my favorites is a comedian. He tells a joke. And he's a Spanish speaking comedian, and Spanish people are famous for saying, "Cómo se dice?" How do you say? And then they say the English word. They're looking for the English word to translate into Spanish what it is that they're asking for, because in the language, every saying doesn't equally translate back and forth. Um, I have a lot of friends from the Caribbean islands, and you can tell how happy or how angry they are because the patois comes out on the tongue, and they can start out just like this with the king and queen's English. And by the time that they're done, I barely understand what they're saying because they are speaking another language. And within the conversation, they have code switched. So it happens so often that people don't realize that they're doing it. I'm going to say that there are some people within the Wake Up Everybody community who code switch because there's a different way that we speak in this space that we may not speak outside of the Wake Up Everybody. The grand risings and the beloveds and all of this. Do you really speak like that in your office? Some people may, some people don't, but that's what it is. So, Nigel, if you can cue up and play that video for us. It's about 5 minutes long, but there's a lot of information in it that I think everybody will be happy to hear, and will be eye-opening.
All right, let me grab that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We all code switch, but some examples are more effective than others.
Okay, let's be real honest. Obama would not be president if he didn't know how to effectively code switch.
Obama.
He's really adept at reading his audience.
Wagwan, Jamaica.
And then putting forth an American English that they can relate to.
So what is code switching?
Okay, so code switching, let's keep it really simple. Code, so we can think language, and switching, so going back and forth between one language and another, or one dialect and another.
Meet Professor Renee Blake.
I am an associate professor in the Department of Linguistics at New York University. I'm also in the Department of Social and Cultural Analysis and the Director of Africana Studies.
Say that 3 times fast.
Oh, you're funny. Code switching is the norm for all of us. So if you just think about whether it's a formal situation versus an informal situation, we're going to be code switching. Usually people think of it in terms of language. So here I am speaking, and I'm speaking not only with words, but I'm also speaking with my face, I'm speaking with my hands.
But code switching often has higher stakes for Black people.
I think it's clear why Black people specifically feel the need to code switch.
This is Taryn Finley. She's the editor of HuffPost Black Voices.
Our Blackness isn't accepted in a lot of spaces that are critical for our success and our survival. A lot of times we have to dilute and we have to put on a mask.
It's a bigger leap for someone who speaks African American English versus someone who speaks a language that is closer to mainstream English, the language of those in power.
But when a Black person can't effectively code switch, the result can be catastrophic. The 2013 George Zimmerman trial was a painful reminder of that fact. He was charged with second-degree murder in the shooting of Trayvon Martin. Rachel Gentel was the prosecution's star witness and a close friend of Martin's.
And when she testified, she was not code switching.
I asked him how the man looked like. He looked like a creepy ass cracker.
She took the stand, and it became clear that the public wasn't judging the facts of her story. They were judging her language.
I don't think she came across as brutally honest. I think she comes across as brutally ignorant. Every time she opens her mouth, her credibility gets chipped away and chipped away.
Ultimately, Zimmerman walked free. But the ability to code switch isn't always enough to avoid disaster. Case in point, Sandra Bland. Bland was stopped for failing to signal a lane change.
Oh, you seem very irritated.
I am. I really am. She's speaking a form of standard or mainstream English.
Step out of the car.
But yet, the conversation escalates and goes badly very quickly.
Drag me out of my own car.
Get out of the car!
And then you
I will light you up. Get out!
Wow.
Now!
Wow.
Get out of the car!
For a failure to signal. You're doing all of this for
Get over there.
And so here what I think is happening, and what we seem to understand, is that there's something about the Black expression that is different or can be misconstrued.
Despite her ability to code switch, Bland was arrested. She was later found dead in her jail cell.
Our Blackness inherently says trouble in a lot of white spaces and a lot of public spaces. That's why so many people feel threatened and want to call the cops when they see a Black person doing something as benign as waiting for a business meeting to start in Starbucks.
So it sounds like racism is the root cause of all of this.
We haven't, as a country, confronted racism and really got into the roots of why we code switch, why we feel like we have to straighten our hair in order to get a job, even if we don't want to.
That concerns me, because I think the Black body is, like every other body, a beautiful body, and should be loved and respected, and not feel anxiety as you walk through the world on a daily basis. I know I feel that anxiety, because I do want to be accepted by the world in which I live.
Code switching can help Black people navigate white spaces. But at the end of the day, it's not enough to overcome racism.
Code switching and respectability politics don't protect us all the time. We're still Black.
Thank you, Nija. So I just want to acknowledge that some of the images and some of the topics that were discussed in that video could be pretty triggering to those of us in this space. So at this time, I encourage us all to take a collective breath, come in for a deep breath for a count of 3, and release it for a count of 3 so that we can shake that off. So everybody come in for 3 and release it for 3. All right, I'm going to continue. And if that's not enough for you, you still feel triggered, your spidey senses are still tingling, please continue to breathe. I encourage you to get some water and hydrate, because now we're about to dive into the dialogue around code switching. So what did that video bring up for anyone? What are you left feeling after watching, after hearing what the ladies had to say about code switching? Any hands, any comments?
Yes, we have two hands raised, Teresa and Denise.
Okay.
So let's move to Teresa first, and we have another hand raised.
Yes, thank you.
Teresa.
Good morning, Tiffany and family. How y'all doing?
Good morning.
I felt, I don't know. I think I felt kind of weird about it. I felt like we have to prove ourselves. Like so, in code switching, like you sometimes, as a Black person, you have to prove who you are, and that's not fair a lot of times. But in order to live in this world, you do have to adjust yourself. I did feel anger, which I'm kind of glad about that. So I guess I'm doing a lot better with my anger issues about stuff like that. I feel like it was the truth. I feel like being here, as a Black woman, you have to code switch. It's like in order for you to function, you have to code switch. Even with my family, I'm code switching because sometimes, what I'm trying to do right for myself right now is just deal with issues that I'm having with my family, look at it through a different a lens. And so there's times when I have reacted in the past like really bad, but I'm trying not to react. But then there's times where I'm aggravated because, I tried to, do it a different way, and it just seemed like I didn't get the message. But I said, I'm just gonna keep on, just doing it, not just my family, just for people, period. And I gotta watch it when I'm code switching because sometimes I could be in a situation and I might feel, uncomfortable, but I do feel like we're code switching all the time. And I think we code switch more than any other race like that young lady says that we code switch a lot because of
Okay.
trauma. And I'm complete.
All right. Before you go, let me ask you a question. Within your family, what are you switching? Are you switching the way that you talk? Are you switching the way that you carry yourself? What is the switch up that you're doing? Teresa, if you're answering me, you're on mute. I can't hear you.
Sometimes I feel like I'm looked at in different ways sometimes with family. Like the way I feel like, how I'm understood or I don't understand them, so I'll say both ways too. Our family has had a lot of trauma. So because of the trauma, a lot of code switching has happened. And so there's challenges sometimes, but I'm determined, to just keep on, like in the healing path that I need because um I used to I still can do it to try to fix stuff, and that's not my job to fix anything. I don't even have all the skills to fix me, so I can't fix anyone else.
Okay.
So, so I'm just, focused on healing, getting help to heal me. And that's what my job is now. And
Okay.
and when I do operate in other place, I will apologize, and I'll say to myself, hey, Teresa, cut it out. That's enough. Like, so I talk to myself, bring myself back in, and I'm
Okay.
complete. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you. Thank you for your share. All right, Nigel. Who else did we have?
All right, we had Denise had her hand raised. Denise, can you
Yeah,
come off
hi.
of mute?
Good morning, everyone. Hey, Tiff.
Hey, Miss West.
Similar to Teresa, I do believe that we have to code switch for survival, particularly BIPOC folks, and we have to learn it young.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we get it from our family sometimes. Like I'm very automated or animated, and I talk with my hands all the time. And I was always told I couldn't, and I shouldn't. It was too much, and I haven't mastered that part. Uh, but being bused to a white school, I got in trouble sometimes because I did not code switch, and I called it out. But I think oftentimes it is for our survival, and it can work for us, but it also can work against us and not allow us to be, if you're not aware and you're doing it, you can lose yourself and not be authentically you as well.
Excellent point.
So even the changing of our hair, the people say, "Oh, you speak." I have said, "Oh, you speak well for a Black person." Well, are you expecting something different? Like even the expectation is different when you code switch or not, just because of the color of our skin. And I agree with Teresa. I believe that we have to do, but that's the knowledge that we come from BIPOC folks, that we have to do it more than other races.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially if you have learned the art of code switching from your family, taking it back to slavery, where there were slaves. Of course, it was illegal for them to know how to read and write. And for those who did learn how to read and write, for their survival, they had to code switch and play ignorant, play dumb. I don't know nothing, master. No, whatever because it was for survival. And so we have people who now in 2020 say, I don't need to code switch for survival. It's not illegal for me to know how to read and write. It's not illegal for me to obtain this job. It's not illegal for me to do these things. So why do I still have to practice this art, practice this behavior? And I'm looking for in the space if there is a voice, because we want to hear from you too. If you do not code switch, you stand strong and firm to who you are every day, 24/7, 365, regardless of what space you're in, you show up as who you are. So let's keep going with the voices that and the hands that were raised. Anijah.
Sure. Sure. Gina, you had your hand raised. Are you still? Oh, there you are.
Yes, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I raised my hand for something else, but then when you brought up the question about people who don't code switch, I strive not to code switch because I feel like I am who I am and I'm good and I'm fine. And as a child, the way you said when you came back from Syracuse, they say you talk white. I was always told that from the time I was a little kid. My friends would say, "Why do you talk white?" And I would say, "I don't talk white. I'm not white." We didn't even know white people. I'm from Bed-Stuy. Who was white? The teacher was white. That's it. And this is even before you go to school. So I didn't talk white. And so, and my sister's on here, she was told the same thing. And what we realized is it's just because our parents didn't speak to us like, my father was against baby talk. Like we just had to learn the real words for everything. And we're told, to speak clearly. Our grandmother came up from the South, so she hated a lot of things. Don't say ain't, don't say this, don't say that. So we just had a way of speaking. And then, I don't recall like switching up and trying to talk like everybody else and do that, because it just wasn't fun. It wasn't interesting and it wasn't real. But of course, my behavior as I grew, I had to learn, that sometimes people are uncomfortable with your face because you're a Black woman and your face is strong and you don't smile all the time. So, I had to learn to smile, hello, and, my voice had to learn how to modulate it so that, people don't feel threatened when I'm speaking all the time. But as I'm getting older, I'm moving back because I just want to be unapologetically me. And as I'm learning to accept myself and love myself, everybody else has to either love me and accept me or just leave me alone. So I'm moving away from the code switch because it really is exhausting and it's fake. And like Adam said, it's a form of oppression where you're telling somebody you can't be yourself. If you want to get ahead or if you want to be a part of this group, you have to act like me and you have to speak like me and dress like me. And that is oppressive. So I, for years, have like worn African clothes to the office. I've had people say, as I walk by, I've heard people say things about it, well, what the hell, but it's what I felt like wearing. and I like to wrap my head, and I think I look beautiful, and that's really all that counts. I've brought the 4 agreements to work now. I always had a poster up in my office, but after completing Be the Tree, I'm incorporating the 4 agreements into staff meetings, into management team planning sessions, so that we can be authentic people who run things, not just, members of this, this matrix of this is how you act when you are here. You can still be yourself when you are here too,
Okay.
So I'm learning how to not code switch so much, and hope my goal is to one to just be me in
Thank
every
you.
setting. And I am complete.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you for that share. Thank you for being your true and authentic self and being vulnerable to this conversation. I appreciate it. All right. Who else do we have in the space?
All
And I see
right.
there's comments popping up. So if there's anything from
Yes.
Facebook, I also want to get the voices of Facebook in as well.
All right. I don't see any comments yet from Facebook.
Okay.
But I do see some comments, so I can read them. We have 2 hands still raised. So let me go ahead and read what's in the chat, and then you can let us know how you'd like to proceed. Is that okay?
Yep. Read what's in the chat, and then we'll move into the next hand.
All right. So Kaisha says, I'm glad the first speaker stated everyone code switches, not just minorities. Most people who move away from their homes for school or work change their norms, attitudes, and sometimes dialects. When they go back home, their family notices the change and treats them differently. So they have to adjust to fit in back at home and in their new communities. Adam says code switching erodes how unique we can be at times, and going along to get along isn't sustainable as people think. Code switching is an underlying form of oppression. Cheryl says she has code switched in her language since childhood. Before she even knew what she was doing, she would adapt a Southern drawl when visiting Southern relatives, a Caribbean accent when spending time with her Trini and Bayesian friends, and a Spanish accent when being with Latino friends. When she was made aware, she didn't realize that that was happening. She goes on to say that discovering that I am a chameleon, discovering that I am chameleon-like, and that I love language. Now I have to make an effort not to do it except with intention.
There you go.
And she shared with Gina that she does look beautiful in her African or her authentic traditional garb. Denise says what Gina says is true. She says, I have been told I was aggressive by whites and have had to tell them to deal and not to claim that I'm aggressive because I stand firm. And then we just got a comment in from Z on Facebook. I'm pretty much the same wherever I go, even though I'm still figuring out who that is.
Wow, thank
so
you,
those
Z.
are the comments. Casey or Cassie and Rachel have their hands raised. So let's go to
Cassie.
Cassie, thank you.
Peace and blessings, everyone. I still have my morning voice. I'm waking up.
Good morning.
But yes, this touched me in a lot of ways. The video was triggering for me. I would say I do relate to what was shared, especially growing up. Being able to code switch was something that was taught to me and my family out of survival, especially older. Straightening your hair, being 15 minutes early, you don't want to be on CPT time, baby. All these different things, you have to work, you have to be smarter, you have to work harder. And then going to a predominantly white university, working in a white corporate, I would feel as if was shared before, it was very oppressive to who I was and being authentic. As I became older, I felt kind of resentment that I felt that I was not able to be my authentic Black self. But then I also had empathy for my family that's the older generation. They had to do that out of survival to get where they were. I do see things changing now, but I do see the impact of the reality that code switching is needed. But I do wish there was a Wakanda sometime. I don't know if that's allowed to say here. Because you get tired, right? I wear my braids, even before natural hair was a thing. I would go home and my family would be like, Cassie, what's up with all this nappy stuff, right? Now everybody's hair nappy and happy. But I'm just saying, I feel like I'm rambling and still older, but I do love that more people are being more authentic and saying, this is my natural hair. This is who I am. Accept me as who I am. But earlier I would see more of straighten your hair, your being changing more to what they consider the mainstream versus who you are. But it's tiring, and it also causes a lot of trauma triggering too as well. Right? Like I felt like everything had to be perfect. And I'm trying to release that because that's not healthy for no part of your body. That's stress. Stress causes all type of health issues and anger. I had to leave the environment, as gracefully as I possibly could. Teresa, Tiffany, I'm working on it. Okay.
Gotcha.
But it could be triggering. So I feel that more people are becoming more authentic and healing from those past traumas from past generations and things of that nature. But I am complete. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that share. And adding into what you were sharing, and the same thing as what Gina was sharing, when you are in the workplace and you're straightening your hair to get the job, or you're changing how you dress. And then Gina shared that when she wears her African garb, there are comments and the microaggressions that are affiliated when you do not code switch become something else that you have to deal with, the whispers behind your back and the side eyes. And so where the need or the urge to want to code switch may not necessarily for an individual be something that's life sustaining, like we were taught by the elders. It's more about a mental sustaining, just so that you're not walking around with the whispers behind you at work because you wore your hair in its natural state, or you decided to put crystals on your desk to bring in the vibes and the energy that you need in order to work. So yes, thank you for your share, Cassie. And Rachel was next, you said, right, Nija?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, what comes up for me,
Rachel, you're breaking up, darling.
can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better.
Okay,
There you
great.
go.
Okay. So what comes up for me is conforming. So I was a person that conformed to certain ways of living for survival mode, right? And it wasn't considered, I wouldn't consider it was code switching. However, it was something taught. What I do now today, I consciously show up as myself, because just because I speak a certain way today and I am who I am, I work with young people, right? I don't have to code switch for them to relate to me. My experiences alone are going to have them relate, right? Just because it's not conveyed the way they speak at that time of their upbringing and coming up, like I did when I was younger, doesn't necessarily mean now I have to go in and speak their language for them to understand where I'm coming from. So I consciously make an effort not to code switch any longer, because I did for so many years, and it did myself a disservice and everybody that I worked with a disservice. And I'm complete.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you. That actually brings me into the next question. The next part of this discussion is, for those of us who have code switched or still continue to code switch, have you felt guilty about doing it? Have you felt that you have betrayed yourself, your ancestors, because you were doing something that maybe brought dishonor amongst them? And then for me, my thought with the code switch was that I wasn't being a true, authentic version of myself when I showed up, not speaking and carrying myself the way that I wanted to. Was I doing myself a disservice, and was I guilty of not being true to myself? So, how does that feel for those of us who have, and even those, if you have done it and now you're not doing it any longer, is that part of the reason why you stopped, because you realized you weren't being authentic to yourself, to your people. Yes, hands and comments are going. I was told I'm not an admin today to stay in my facilitator role, so I'm gonna allow my admin team to direct us now.
All right. So what would you like to do? We do have two hands raised. Teresa and Rachel, looks like they raised their hands again. We have a couple of comments in the chat. And I know you had some questions for the community that we talked about.
Yes.
So which way would you like to go?
Let's see some responses that are in the chat from voices we haven't heard yet. Like I just saw Stacy's name go up, and I don't think we've heard Stacy's voice or a comment yet from Stacy Evans.
Okay. So let me read what Stacy put in here. I need to scroll. Okay. So Stacy says, one of the things I love about folks like journalists Aisha Roscoe and filmmaker Ryan Coogler is that they don't code switch. They speak how they speak, and I love hearing that. I especially love hearing Roscoe's clearly Black voice when she's reporting. Such a welcome change from the other voices on NPR.
Thank you.
Catherine Sweetness, she shared, I don't usually change to fit in. I think I rather stand out in a positive way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. And then I do see Teresa and Rachel's hands are the ones that were raised. So yes, we can go into Teresa and Rachel's statements, and then I'll ask a next question.
Okay, great. Teresa, you're up. Are you there, sis? We don't believe in.
My computer was hacking, a little silly. The statement that I said is being all Black is problematic. Because it's like Sister Gina, different one says, is that when you show up in your Black, because I remember when I just when I was a child, when I first wore an afro, I was so uncomfortable wearing an afro. Now that's my hair, but it was like, I was like, I'm not straight in my hair, I'm gonna wear afro. And I was so embarrassed to go and wear afro, but I was determined to do it. And I went in school and I wore afro, and I got so much looks. And I remember even when I stopped, like curling, like combing my hair and just going natural, my grandma was like, "Oh, girl, your hair looks nappy." And I'm like, "Nappy? Like, really, girl? My hair looks nappy." So it's like she hated like us to wear dreads and stuff like this. She was like, "Oh, y'all need to comb your hair." And so it was like and even like if you just want to wear like Black, like I wear dashikis or like Afrocentric earrings, whatever. And it's like, even when I'm wearing my hair out, somebody want to touch my hair. It's like, why the hell you got to put your? Is that your hair? Like, who hair is it? It's like, so it's like sometimes being a Black person can be problematic because when we show up, like Gina said, wearing African clothing, it's like, why are you wearing that? Why can't I wear it? It's like, what is wrong with me wearing what I want? So that's why I just said, being, like your, like Cassie said, being your full, like what Cassie was saying, is like, it is problematic sometimes. And so you have to just keep on doing, being Black and just enjoying who you are and just, get relaxed. But you get it from all areas, even in jobs. It's like, I had a lady, a man said to me, well, like, the way you dress, is not, always so good. You got to come. And I'm like, the way I dress, I was like, it's just so much stuff that you have to do as a woman. And then even being a large woman is a problem. Like being a Black heavy woman, that's a problem. So but I'm loving who I am. So it's okay.
Right. So yes, Teresa, those things that you mentioned about happening at work, about whether or not like how you dress or your size, those are the microaggressions that I had referred to earlier, that we deal with that could cause somebody to have the urge to code switch. Yes, Rachel.
Yeah, so for me, again, when you spoke about guilt, when I was navigating in my life and in relationships, I one day chose the wrong white man, right? And sitting at a table, being connected to who I was, but him being disconnected to who I was very difficult. Hearing the N word constantly come out his mouth, hearing his friends very freely use the word, saying, why are you listening to this black music, things like that. I had to leave that relationship because it was wearing on me. I literally would be at a dinner having wine with his friends and you know would and like work related wise, and I would go into the mirror in my bathroom and like wash my face and be like, are you still here? Because where are you right now? And yeah, it did wear on me. It absolutely did wear on me.
Thank you, Rachel, for sharing. Okay, I see one more hand went up, Nija, and that was Renee. And then we're going to move into our next question. Thank you, everybody, for sharing, by the way.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Something that I find interesting about this conversation is the nature in which I do code switch. I grew up speaking like this. And I lived in a Black town. And then when I moved to a predominantly white town, they were like, oh, you cannot be with your Black peers because you do not act like them. And now that I am an adult and like am no longer isolated as the token, I find it really interesting the ways in which it feels like I'm code switching, but in reverse. Because the people I grew up around are like, yeah, baby, you're white. And I'm like, just kidding. I do all the same things you do. We listen to the same music. I just am also, like this. I didn't speak English until I started reading. And I feel like that has a lot to do with it.
You said you didn't speak English until you started reading. What was your first language?
Je parle en créole et français aussi.
Okay. So amongst being amongst your Haitian Creole people, do you feel that there is a need to switch back and forth within that code of not just being a Black woman, but being a Haitian woman, and
absolutely
how that plays out for you?
I think it's really interesting. I think it's really interesting the ways in which like I inhabit family and I inhabit my peers and I inhabit academia. Like all of these strange places require me to be a slightly different version of myself. And I find that my personal continuity, like my higher order values and the way in which I move in these spaces are still me. I don't find a disconnect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your share. All right. So again, I feel the need to take a collective breath because I feel something coming over me when it comes to code switching. So I'm going to encourage everybody to breathe because I'm about to share that I want to ask everybody and for them to think about it. Why do you code switch? And I know my answer for code switching, especially around Black people, is to validate my Blackness. So, this is going to get emotional for me. As a biracial child, I was always too much of something. I was too white to be Black and I was too Black to be white. So walking that thin line, I have been compelled to code switch to validate why I'm in a space. That, maybe it is if I know I'm going to be around people such as those from Be the Tree, or those who are very natural and holistic. I may be more inclined to fluff out my hair so that my curls are bigger. And I might want to wear my essential oils. And I might want to wear a long flowing skirt so that it validates my presence there. Because automatically for me, I think about, from the outside, someone looking in at this group of beautifully melanated women, and there's this one little light bright that's in there. Why is she there? So has anybody else felt the need to code switch to validate their presence in a space? Even though you know you belong there, you need to show everybody that you belong there. Not a matter of trying to fit in with the group, but to show to the outsiders, I belong here. And I saw Kaisha's hand go up.
Yes, her hand immediately went up. So Kaisha, are you able to come on camera and unmute yourself?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Yes, yes, Tiffany, to your question. Yes. Because I live in a white Hispanic community in Texas.
Mhm.
And I've navigated these spaces when I joined the military, and then I lived in Colorado. I lived in these type of communities before, but I've lived in diverse communities. This community is majority white and Hispanic. But there's another woman that mentioned the word token. And I said, that's what we need to talk about also. I ran for, I've shared this before, I ran for school board. They've never had any Black person run for school board before in this community. And even though I didn't win, I lost by 5 points. And everyone was excited that I got so close. Because I am, and let's face it, because I'm Black. And I did a forum, and one of the questions was, how do I feel about affirmative action? And I said, well, look at me. I'm an example. I'm a woman, and I'm a minority, and I'm involved in this community. So that was so months later, I was offered to apply for city council based on how I ran my campaign and for the school board, and I was floored because I felt like I was just being myself. Like there was nothing special about me. This is how I behave. This is how I speak. So I tell one of my good Caucasian friends, my female, I'm like, hey, they invited me to be a city council. She was like, what? They only inviting you because you Black?
Wow.
I said, well, be it that it may. I was like, okay. And that came from a white, that was her statement. Not because I'm a woman, not because I ran a really good school board campaign. She said, but I had to think, because Black people are not involved in my community.
and so they need that token on the board to have representation. And so now it becomes, well, do I take it because it's being offered to me as a token opportunity? And if I do take it, what do I do with it?
God, it's a struggle out here. Yes. I didn't get a seat just because of my views, so it just didn't align with what the city council is trying to go with. But you're right, I would be the one that argued everything, because I don't believe in a lot of things that they agree to. And so, but there's a lot of yes people on the board, but I'll be the one to be like, no, you got to explain that to me a little bit better.
See, they got to be careful what they do with that token. That token to come up here and shake everything up.
And that's how the interview went. That's exactly how the interview went. I didn't agree with some of the things that they believed in. So,
right.
I mean, but anyway, I just wanted to bring that up regarding token, regarding living in, being a minority. in a community and how it feels. So yes, we code switch and we're the token.
Thank you. Thank you for recognizing that. Now go out there and be that token and shake things up.
You know it,
Let
girl.
them,
That's how,
let
they
them
know
know what
me.
it's about.
They
All
know
right.
me. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. We have some more hands up, and I see the chat
Yes.
is scrolling. Yes.
Yes,
I'm
there's a
loving
lot in
this.
the chat, but let's go to Sweetness. And then after Sweetness, we'll hear from Sister.
Thank you.
Peace and blessings, grace and peace. I'm sending you a hug, Tiffany. Sending you a hug. Can't
Thank
too
you.
much relate to what you shared in your tenderness of sharing in regards to your family. However, it came to me that ignorance keeps me. I'll keep it on the eye. Ignorance keeps me from embracing other things, other people. Two instances in my life that I was approached with how I look and show up in the world. So I was working as professional at a professional car service. So we had customers. You had to have an account, and my mother worked it also. So my mother came to pick me up. I didn't have a car at this time, so my mother came to pick me up to take me to work, and I had my afro. And when I got in the car, she said, "What are your plans with your hair?" And so I said, "My plans are to go to work." She said, "You going to work with your hair out like that?" And that was startling to me. I pretty much stood out in my family, period. No matter what was going on with my hair, which I have beautiful hair. And so that was an awakening for me that my mother said that to me, because up until that time I was not out in the workforce.
Right.
And then when I had a mentor, and my mentor said, so a certain way you want to present yourself, and you wearing your hair out is not the way to present yourself. And then that was another instance where I had an awakening of how an adjustment might need to be made depending on where I am and what I'm going for. So okay, not so much to deny myself. I don't know, what their two mindsets was. I would imagine, it was about me being successful at what I was doing. So then there was another time when I lived in Bermuda against my will, but I did live in Bermuda, and I realized that I became so comfortable there that I started speaking like them. I was not resisting them while they were looking upon me in a different way, because I was from the States. And the people that I was around looked upon the people who from the States as uppity, or thought they knew everything. It was just it was a friction between people who look like me in the natural eye. But you understand what I'm trying to say? However, did not accept me the way I thought. If I was living in the States, and the people who were not embracing me were people that did not look like me. But then here I am around people who look like me and who's giving me a hard time. So I'm finding that for me, I have to be conscious of my audience. Whatever place I find myself, there is always an audience. And so for today, I'm extremely comfortable with how I speak, how I dress, and how I wear my hair. I wanted to throw that out into the community, into the conversation.
Right. Thank you for sharing that, Sweetness. And so yes, when it does come down to code switching, your environment could be the reason that you code switch. Your audience could be the reason that you code switch. Your place, like your physical place, could be the reason that you code switch. again, either intentionally and consciously or unintentionally or unconsciously, it is happening. So thank you for sharing that with us, sweetness. Sister, are you still there?
Yes, yes. Good morning.
Good
Good morning,
morning.
everyone. First, I want to say, Tiffany, even though I don't have the experience of being a biracial person, what you said, for some reason, there's a part of me somewhere inside of me that can relate to that and understand that completely and totally. I think that code switching is a tool that's necessary just to navigate spaces. And for me, it's not denying a part of myself. It's more of just the spectrum of who I am. And being a person who's often, with a mic in her hand or on stage, I always have to read the audience, and I always have to bring out the part of me that relates to that audience. And so when I'm speaking to anyone, whatever inside of me that I have something that can relate to them, that's what's going to come to the surface. And code switching to me it's a necessary tool. Listen, I code switch between my mother and my friends. It's all really me. It's just that this particular way of speaking is appropriate when I'm speaking to my mother, and this particular way of speaking is appropriate when I'm, is the part of me that fits when I'm talking to my girlfriends.
Thank you.
I feel that for me it's not denying any part of myself. It's just, oh, this is what happens when I'm in this space, and this is what happens when I'm. And then also code switching to language is very intimate. Like everybody don't get to get a certain part of me. They just don't. Like they just don't. There's certain intimate ways that I speak to my girlfriend that no other people like we don't what have you ever had anyone come up to you and speak to you like they know you and just like just do too much, and it's like, wait, we not boo. No, we're not like that. No. How do you do?
Yes.
Me and you, how do you do? Don't come up to me. Listen, I'm born in the United States of America, okay? And my family is from Central America. I'm first generation here. At one time I went to a some sort of convention, and it was probably maybe there was really no Black people there. You could count maybe out of 500 people that was there, it was less than 100 Black people. And I'm assuming he was European, and I'm not offended because I think he was trying to connect, but he came up to me and he said, Wagwan. So what he was saying was, I guess he thought he may have taken a vacation to Jamaica, and he thought I was Jamaican. So he was trying to say, what's going on? So he was like, Wagwan. But it was so out of context that I didn't even know what he was saying. I was like, well, what if he thought he was speaking a different language? He said, Wagwan. I said, pardon? He said, Wagwan. Like, what? Oh, Wagwan. Oh, okay. Like, we're not like that. I don't know you. That's very intimate. You know what I mean? So that code, I have you in this box of a code. You stay there,
Right.
And when I'm with my girlfriends, if we want to say Wagwan or whatever, like that's for us. It's intimate. So that's my little 2 cents. And thank you so much. You're doing a good job, Tiffany. Thank you. It's a great conversation.
Thank you so much. And I'm so glad you brought up the fact that how you speak and carry yourself around your mother and your parents is not the same way you carry yourself amongst your friends. One of the questions that I had asked earlier was, do people believe that they code switch? And I'm just wondering now, based off of all of the shares, do you see within your own self ways that you code switch that you didn't even realize that you were doing it? So if we can get raises of digital hands or some responses in the chat, yes, I realize, or no, I still don't see it. I'd like to see if perspectives have been changed in this hour-long conversation we've been having. So yes, if you feel that, if you were a type of person who says, no, I don't code switch, I stay true to my authentic self, And now you see maybe there are places that you code switch, as sister just stated, maybe between the conversations between your elders and that you have with your family versus your friends and your colleagues. Do you see a switch up there? Do you see that what it is that you're doing is code switching? So does anybody have a different perspective than they did an hour ago when we started? I saw Gina's hand go up. Gina, you have a different perspective? Did your thoughts on code switching change?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I think I'm a little bit more understanding of why it's still something that is necessary. Because just like sister, you just shared, there's different levels of intimacy. So there's different codes depending on that level. And definitely, right, the way I would speak to, my elders is different than the way I would say speak to my husband or my children. So I guess, I was looking at it more of from a racial lens, but it's wider than that, and it does transcend a lot of different things. So, I'm still saying I'm going to be me, and I try to be authentically me, even, when I'm speaking with my mother and then with my children, I try to be respectful of both generations and not make one generation feel like, I don't have to respect you because you're younger than I am. So there is some level of just, I have to be myself throughout all the relationships I'm in. But I do understand it's just certain codes, there's just certain things that we do with certain groups and certain people. So yes, I would say, code switching has its place, but I think we get to choose when we want to do it versus doing it because we feel like being ourselves in this space is dangerous or I'm not going to be accepted. They're not going to like me. They're not accepting you anyway. If they don't like you, they're not going to like you no matter how you speak, what you wear. And it doesn't stop us from getting killed, convicted, lynched. You can be, the Solomon Northrop story of 12 years of a slave. I mean, it didn't stop anything. He said, I'm from New York and I'm a musician. I'm a violinist. Not to those people you weren't. So you could code switch all you want. You going down south and, in chains. So as far as, keeping us, it's appeasing people that mean us harm, it doesn't mean anything. And I don't think it works in those situations. But I do see the value of it in other situations. And I'm complete.
Thank you. Thank you for your share. I just want to acknowledge the time. It is 8:13, and I did see some people drop off at 8 o'clock. So if the admins, because I'm pretty sure there are some people who still have to go, could just put the information in the chat on how to contact me, everything, so that we can respectfully acknowledge the people who have to hop off now because they have church and other obligations. I thank you for joining us. Please come back and watch the playback and finish out the conversation. I'm actually looking forward to hearing everything that everyone has to say. So I just want to begin wrapping up with saying that the art of code switching and deciphering when to use it and how to use it is a personal choice. What I feel works for me will not work for each and every last one of you. And what works for you is not going to work for me. And I want to say that regardless of whether or not you do switch and where and when and why and how you switch, I believe that you are still staying true and authentic to yourself. Coming into the conversation, I know there were some people who thought code switching was low vibrational. Adam mentioned that it is a form of oppression. The word authentic self was used a couple of times, and I respect all of those things there. And I just want to say that when we switch and how we switch is not always about survival, but maybe as a matter of respect for those who we are doing it for, such as our parents or our elders, or to fit in and belong with our friends, to relax ourselves into who and what we are. And so I'm going to just throw the question out there to everyone. And please feel free to raise your hand if you want to join in, or you want to drop it in the chat. Based off this conversation, is there anything that you're going to do different or look differently about yourself when it comes down to code switching tomorrow? Or, well, tomorrow's a holiday. Tuesday, when you show up for work, will you be more mindful of how it is you greet your coworkers? Or when you go out later for drinks and you celebrate this weekend, this long weekend with your friends, are you going to look at how you're greeting your friends? Is it different from how you would greet your coworkers? And are you really code switching and being authentic to yourself? So anybody who wants to come in and share what they think, I'm here. Let's talk about it. Let's chop it up. My sister Z. I'm sorry, Nija. I see the hands go up. I have to acknowledge them.
It's fine.
This is me code switching. I'm going back and forth between facilitator and admin because this is just who I am. I am just being authentic. Yes, Z. Did we lose it? Oh, there she goes.
Yeah, I'm on my tablet. I'm having some connectivity challenges today, so I don't use this very often. So I think, am I on camera? Okay, good. I wasn't sure if I got on it. Pardon me. I love you, Tiffany.
Thank you.
And I find this whole conversation kind of interesting because most of us, in fact, I don't think I know anyone who is the identically same way with everyone they interact with, because it doesn't even make sense, So I personally don't think that's switching. I just think that's accessing a different part of, all of it's part of who you are. Yeah, because I'm talking to a child. Now I agree with, I think, who was it? I think it was Gina said her father doesn't
do the baby talk.
Yeah, I never, ever did. Ever. Like when my oldest son was an infant and we used public transportation in New York, I would point out landmarks to him. He's like literally an infant in my arms. And I'm pointing out landmarks to him and I'm speaking to him, and I had more than one person say to me, do you think he has a clue what you're saying? I said, maybe, maybe not. But the sooner I do it, the sooner he will. So that's how, and I would not allow anyone to baby talk. You could speak another actual language to him. In fact, I'd love it if you do that. But do not baby talk to him, because babies, when they talk, they're trying to say what you're saying. So if you're saying what they're saying, they're never going to learn how to speak properly. So that's how I looked at it. And that's how, so I never baby talked. But I do I'll explain things differently to a child than I would to an adult because they have a different level of understanding. I will definitely speak different to an elder than I would to my girlfriend. I definitely spoke differently to my parents. But that's not being a part of who I am. It's all part of who I am. So that's why I don't personally consider it switching. I just consider it adapting to the circumstances. Yeah, that's. I understand what you're saying. I think for me, code switching is when you're having to change who you are to do what you have to do.
Right.
For survival, for if you need to get a particular kind of job, or that. And even that's not really code switching, is again adapting to what's necessary. But that would be, I would consider that more code switching than just being differently with your parents and your grandparents and your children and your friends and coworkers. I mean, it's inappropriate. It doesn't even make sense to behave the same way in an office as I do at home.
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
Right. You might your kids might actually look at you crazy if you acted if you acted at home how you do in the workplace.
Exactly.
Mhm.
They might
Thank you.
consider locking me up, putting me away somewhere because I would have lost it. You know?
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
complete.
Thank you. Thank you for your share. Thank you, everyone, for partaking in this conversation, both verbally with your voice and your authentic shares in the chat and sharing with one another. Um, I am actually complete if everybody else is complete.
Yeah. Tiffany, why don't I read some of the juice that's in the
Yes.
chat? Because it is
Yes.
so much. So you have a sip of water and let me read some of the things that have been shared.
Thank you.
So Cheryl says, I realized that working with 90% white males for over 30 years, I code switched a little bit, but it was more taking on masculinity behaviors, but never ever changing my speech, hair, or clothing. I'm grateful that I did not care what they may have thought, and no one was bold enough to say anything to me about my Black Power t-shirts, my big earrings, my natural oil fragrances, and my traditional African prints and colorful cool thing. I also wore squirrel, then an afro or braids, then a Caesar, and lastly locks. Catherine, when you ask about feeling guilty about code switching, Catherine's response was, or Sweetness's response was, my narrow view of my ancestors does not allow me to feel guilty. And code switching, she goes on to say in a later post that she thinks code switching is a cultural and a traditional issue. Casey, is it Casey or Cassie? It's Tiffany.
Cassie.
Cassie, all right, thank you. Cassie, sadly, being Black in spaces where our life can be threatened, judicial system and medical, is what is especially triggering. We are dying due to our Blackness, and code switching can't save us. She goes on to say the whole complexity of being Black in America and healing from the trauma stemming has led me to initially seek safe spaces and a phenomenal Black therapist because we don't live in a trigger-free environment. She's learning to be truly free and authentic. Scrolling on down, Stacey Evans, in someone's response about getting a job or an invitation because they were Black, Stacey says it's interesting to me how quickly that, oh, it's because you're Black, BS comes out when you succeed. That happened to me when I got my current job.
Yes.
So moving on, because there is so much moving on from Facebook. We received a message that says, I don't think anything should determine anything about someone other than who they genuinely are.
Thank you.
So let me, Rakia says, I can relate to situational code switching within and between relationships and levels of intimacy.
Thank you.
I can resist. Oh, go ahead, Tiffany. You were going to say something.
No, I said thank you to Rakia's comment about being able to relate to situational code switching and the levels of intimacy in relationships.
Okay. Deirdre says, I am thankful for the language around what I have been doing all of my life and continue to do so. I get to do it intentionally from a different come from today, a spiritual place. Dion, she says, I came in late, but I have been the queen of code switching since before it had a name. Sister sums it up well. That is for the message to be received by a certain audience. I feel all of them are parts of me. And then scrolling down, Gina says, I may double down on my authenticity in more spaces to balance my code switching moments.
Yes, I think I saw when that came across when I asked for people to look at how they'll switch either today or tomorrow when they return to work. Wow. Thank you, everybody. I'm telling you, you all have me thinking within my own self. Even though this is a topic that is close to my heart, like even expanding more how it is that I look at it and what my feelings and thoughts are. And that's the whole point of having these conversations, is for us to open and expand our minds and our understandings to things that we may or may not have thought about before. And so I thank everybody for joining us today for code switching, deciphering the change up. And I think my message has been received, and I have received your messages as well. So we can move into the closing slides, because I have some stuff for the community today. I'm so excited. All right. So first up, for those of you who do not know, I am a part of a writing group known as the Diamond Writers. We just released our second anthology called Beneath the Crown, and we are on a 4-city tour where we are meeting and greeting the public in different events. And next month we come to my hometown, Brooklyn, New York, and we're seeking vendors for this rooftop sip and shine. So anyone who is in the space, who is a vendor, who has a small business, or you know somebody who this is their vibe, it's about not just women empowerment, but people empowerment, meeting, greeting, networking. If you know somebody who might be interested in vending, please visit our website, www.diamondwriters.com/vendors. We have 2 vendor packages that are being offered. We would love to have you and your merch and your products in our space. The event is June 25th. So hop on and join us now. And then we can turn to the next slide, because here is my special offer for the Woo community. So here in New York, we are hosting the rooftop sip and shine event. And for everyone who is in the Woo space, if you have not bought a ticket yet, we are offering 10% off with the code Woo Nation in all cap locks. It is valid through May 31st. So go on, get your tickets. There are different ticket prices. They're different, as the kids would say, there are levels to this. So please use the code. Share with your friends and family who you think would benefit from meeting with this wonderful dynamic group of women. I'm going to say that I will be there along with, I believe it's at least 10 other diamond writers who will be sharing our stories. We're going to be painting wine glasses. We're going to be networking, meeting, and greeting. It's going to be a wonderful opportunity. So please take advantage. And we can move to the next slide. This is my contact information. That's my cell phone number. I am on Facebook, the Phoenix Center for Youth Development. That is my youth organization. I'm on Instagram as @one_true_Phoenix. And these are my emails and the Diamond Writers website, where you get to meet the diamonds, find out what we're up to. If you have a story that you yourself as a woman want to share and tell, this is the place to join us. So please screenshot or copy and paste this information so you can follow up with me later. Next slide. This is Love offerings, and donations can be made through Zella QuickPay as Soul Leadership Development at gmail.com. The Cash App is $Spirit of a Woman. Today's code is 596TM. And love offerings and donations do not have to be session or facilitated driven. We have the new monthly love offerings where you can set up your donations on a automated system monthly at the different intervals of $25, $50, $75, or $100, simply using the bit.ly links that are copy and pasted into the chat today. Coming up tomorrow, we have in the space the beautiful Miss Dion Monsanto. She will be here on Monday, May 30th, discussing it's not what you are eating, it's what's eating you. And then on Tuesday, May 31st, we have Yogisha in the house, Transformation Tuesday, maintaining a healthy mind, body, and spirit. So please join these ladies for their wonderful sessions. I know you will enjoy. Next slide. And the Woo Nation wants to welcome all new members. If this is your first time joining us, please drop it in the chat. We want to welcome you to a community where we come to learn, elevate, and ascend, and invite you to come back tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that. This is the Wake Up Everybody schedule. We're live on Zoom and Facebook 5 days a week, Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Mondays and Wednesdays from 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. If you'd like a notification when it's time to join us on one of these platforms, please text the word Woo Nation in cap locks to 74121. And make sure you shop our swag shop at bit.ly/Woo Swag. Get your swag, get your merch, and rep your community. And thank you, everyone. Here's how you stay in touch with us. Register weekly at bit.ly/Wake Up Movement. Join us on Facebook at bit.ly/Woo Community for our private group, or follow us at bit.ly/Woo Nation on our public page. We're on Instagram at Wake Up Everybody Virtual. Clips are on YouTube at bit.ly/Woo on YouTube. And last and certainly not least, you can always email us at info.wakeupseries@gmail.com.
Thank you, Tiffany. And so I am going to unshare the slides. And this is the point, Tiffany, where we shower you with love and appreciation for the session that you co-created today with all of our participants. So family, unmute yourselves. Let Tiffany know how appreciative you are and what you got from this session.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that, Tiffany.
Great conversation.
Big different
Thank
perspective.
you, Chantel.
Great
Thank you,
information.
Tiffany.
Thank you for sharing your experience with
Yes,
us.
Tiffany, we
And like
thank
I
you for being here.
I think
Thank you
we've
for your
grown.
excellence.
It's been a wonderful
Definitely a
Showing
growth
up.
moment for all of us and connection.
Thank
So thank you, thank you, thank you.
you.
Have a
Welcome.
beautiful
Have a
day,
great day.
everybody. Have a
Have a
beautiful
great
day.
day.
All of it is you. All of it is you. Thank you, Naja and Denise.
Thank you.
For your wonderful